I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up.
Alrighty guys, what's going on? Creature Dewey back once again. Here we are back on my Twitter twice in one day. It's a record. I just wanted to show you guys this clip. This clip is very telling and kind of crazy, to be totally honest. So wanted to watch this. I got a few other queued up. We'll see what we get through for tonight, but I'm going to make a little montage of all these and leave the links in the description.
White people, if you are white and you're listening to this, listen very closely. Lately I've been seeing many of you complaining about Islam and immigration and stuff like that. And I'm going to separate the white people in two categories. The Americans, Canadians and Australians do not count because they are white people that live in a country that's not theirs. You guys have invaded those lands.
So that's really funny coming from Muslims, because Muslims, and I commented this, have invaded African countries in the same way. Multitude. Like, there's lots of the northern countries in Africa that have been invaded historically by the Muslims. So they're not fucking innocent in this shit either. They're fucking colonizers as well, if you want to put it in that term, you know.
From the rightful owners. So when you guys get back to Europe, then we can talk. But
then when you get back to fucking your like 4 or 5 countries, not 50, then we can talk.
For the European white people
Asshole.
complaining about immigration and Islam.
And you realize that we would have a lot more numbers if we all migrated back to the same places anyway, right? So you would lose your hold over those places. You wouldn't actually have the strength that you pretend you would.
First of all, I want to tell you that Islam is going to take over every single square inch of the globe.
You wish.
And you guys might think that it's going to be us.
So I'm guessing it was a white man that probably broke your teeth, right? And so that's the grudge that's helped you get back to the fucking pushing the Islam rhetoric, eh? That's what I'm guessing.
Dark-skinned people that are going to take over. No, it's going to be your own people. As you can see how fast Islam is growing. In the next 10 to 15 years, every white person is going to have a Muslim member in his family.
I don't think so, man. There are a lot of people fighting back against you fucks, and I think that we all gotta stand up and kick you out of our countries, to be totally honest with you, man. I think that you guys just gotta go. We gotta quit being kind and nice in our countries. We gotta stand up for ourselves and stand against you guys.
Nowadays you see white Europeans with blue eyes and blonde hair reverting back to the truth because they have finally seen the truth. And the thing is, there's nothing you guys can do to stop it. You guys can hate Islam as much as you want, and I want to thank the Western media for spreading Islam. A lot of weak-minded Muslims think that the media is picking on us and bullying us, but really and truly the Western media is working with us. They have succeeded in spreading Islam, but intentionally. A lot of people did not know about Islam, but nowadays we are the most talked about religion on the media, and thanks to the Western media for spreading the truth. And so I want to say there's nothing you guys can do to stop Islam, nothing. And also, just to add it, the weak Muslims are the ones just to add it, sorry about the noise, just to add, it's the weak Muslims that always talk about Islam being a religion of peace. Islam is not, it's not a religion of peace.
No,
it does not mean peace. It means to submit to Allah, and it is a religion of justice. Put that in your head. It's the weak.
It's a religion of violence. It's a religion of violence. Get that in your head and admit it out loud. Okay, how do we go here? Let's see. few Jasmin Laines. Moosey on the loosey-goosey is always good.
By the
How do you reconcile that for Canadians? Why are we handing that leverage over, Minister?
They're back at it again. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Mark Carney's energy minister announcing critical minerals deal and looking at the companies they're investing in. This is money flowing out of the government to businesses. Immediately there are red flags, and another
So some more subsidizing again is what you're saying?
Another red flag. Tim Hodgson goes on Vasi Capello's show, and he is the most condescending, arrogant jerk you can imagine. Vasi's taken back by the garbage coming out of his mouth. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got some polling data here. So Shreya teased with this poll. Conservatives 42%, Liberals 40%, NDP 8, Bloc 6. You'll notice the Conservatives now have the biggest lead, 2 points, since the...
Whenever and whatever the day of election is, if it's next month and we have a Christmas election, or if it's in the spring and we have a spring election, I absolutely cannot wait to vote for Pierre.
election. And Shreya Teese pointing this out here. So Conservatives 42, and back in the election they had 41.3. The Liberals are at 40 right now, and they had 43.8. So that's a almost 4-point swing for the Liberals from the election, and Conservatives are up 0.7. We also got this one from David Coletto. Tight race continues as Trump's trade talk cancellation adds tension ahead of budget. So the cost of living, 62%, still dominates everyday Canadians because things are so expensive in Canada. But Trump has made his way back up to the second position here. I think he dropped to third place, maybe in fourth place at one point. Essentially, while he's tied with the economy.
Is people keep on getting fucking fooled by these liberals and taking the Donald Trump talking point and running with it. But Trump, essentially, he really doesn't fucking matter at all. In the picture, out of the picture, Trump is not actually doing all that much to Canada. Trump does nothing to Canada, essentially. Nothing. The biggest problem we have is the liberals. They have been fucking us, taxing us into the ground. They have been, subsidizing companies, and that comes from our taxes. Well, everything they do essentially comes from our taxes, and they basically plan not just to tax us, but to tax our children and their children. They're planning that big of a deficit that it's going to be affecting the next multiple generations. And people keep on swearing by them. I cannot believe my fucking... my
Housing and
life, my
healthcare
soul.
close third.
It's
And
like
we see government...
it bleeds for the country, It's, like, there's this one point where, Jamil Javani, I don't know if you guys know who he is, but Jamil Javani is a wonderful MP for the Conservatives, and he says that it's like showing up to work every day when they go to the House of Commons and basically watching and understanding the reasons why the country is burning every day and not being able to do anything right now while they're not in power. And you know what? Since I started following the politics, trying to figure out why things have shifted so much and why I've been struggling so much in my own personal life at work and whatnot like that, and realized that politics had so much to do with it, I started following along and I started learning a lot of this stuff. And he's got it. Like, even after I started learning so much of that stuff, I started being really taken back by what they were doing in the country intentionally. It's painful. Canada's a beautiful, beautiful country, but we so often limit ourselves. We could be something special. We could be one of the best countries in the world, and yet we always seem to have an intentional limit. It's like Krillin in Dragon Ball has a very, small potential. Well, that's what we're kept at, but we're actually a Saiyan, not a human,
Approval ratings, you can see Carney peaked at 53, now he's down to 47. So it is taking some time. Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives need a bit more time for him to tank his numbers here before we go to an election. Impression of Mark Carney down to 46%, peaked to 51.
I didn't want to admit
and Pierre
that.
Poilievre's impression, you know what happens.
I've been having
here
a hard time having to admit that we need to probably put it off to a spring election, but man, it's because I know how badly we need Pierre too. I need Pierre really badly, you know? Like, there's a lot of us that desperately need Pierre to get in, and the longer it takes, the harder it feels for us. Alrighty, guys, so I'm gonna leave this moose on loose here, because I did want to check out a couple more of these ones. I'll leave the video in the description. Thanks for watching it with me. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please stay tuned and continue watching with me. And if you've made it this far, say made it. Alright, yeah, let's go.
We've spent the last 10 years living a fiction.
The rhetoric doesn't quite match with what the data is showing us.
I can assure you it is impossible. We know that things went a little bit too far with woke progressivism on so many fronts. And so I think there is some things that are misunderstood about what it is we're trying to do, but we believe that we need to be a conservative government. Industry is just making their own deals. They're not waiting for the politicians to get their act together.
Which is fair.
Canada is not a priority.
It's been kind of shocking to me to see Canada do the polar opposite.
There's a third of the public who hate us.
My first thought is, I want to know what she thinks about this. A few days ago, Premier Danielle Smith of Alberta joined me to talk everything from misconceptions of her government, of Albertans, what they want, as well as the Canada-U.S. relationship, a very massive Canada-U.S. opportunity that the Carney government, the media in Canada, everybody just was totally silent on this topic. I think I'm the only one who's actually been talking about it, so it was really cool to kind of get her perspective on that as well. Important to note that this conversation was held 2 days or so before the new trench of projects was unveiled. We now know that there isn't a pipeline on there, but I do think there's a lot you can take away.
Yeah, because the federal government won't force David Eby's hand, and David Eby himself won't start it on that end as well. If he would start it on that end, they could provincially start it from BC to Alberta and then get the other provinces linked in later on. But because David Eby won't, and because Mark Carney is weak when it comes to oil pipelines, we're not going to get one.
From our conversation to give you a really clear understanding of what is going on behind the scenes.
We have a whole
I'm
lot
Jasmin
of,
Laine. Subscribe, like, follow, comment your thoughts down below as always, and share this
like that would
video
give us the
as
ability
well,
to at least start sending some to Asia as a starting place. It would be fantastic. It would, because then America's not our only customer. We no longer have to sell at a discount to either one because we have them competing with each other. We would have competition in our oil.
Wildly informative. Thank you so very much for
The reason we sell it at a discount to America is because we sell it solely to America.
joining us today, Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith.
Well, nice to see you again. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I had to. There's been so much going on lately, and so many news
Albertan
stories.
Prime
And my
Minister.
first thought is, I want to know what she thinks about this. Especially, I'd say, when it comes to, there's been a lot in particular with U.S.-Canada negotiations, relations, as well as some rhetoric being issued from certain individuals as of late. And, you know, I don't even know if you have an answer for this, but with the Canada-U.S. negotiations pausing so abruptly, from your vantage point, what do you think it is that actually happened there?
Well, first, let me compliment you on your interview that you had with the U.S. ambassador, because I think
thank
he
you.
made it very clear on your show that Canada was not living up to the Canada-U.S. Free Trade Agreement provisions, and the U.S. was. I mean, they said that CUSMA compliant goods would not be tariffed, and we were still tariffing goods that that should have qualified for an
That's so
exemption.
messed up,
So I
man.
think you actually moved policy change on that, and I think that was important. The other thing I would say is that the new Prime Minister, he has addressed issues around the digital services tax. I knew that that was one issue that had come up and it was addressed. And it looked like he was going to be making some progress on coming to an agreement on an energy deal that would also have removed tariffs around steel and aluminum. And that got derailed. because of the advertising campaign.
Because Doug Ford just got too big for his bridges, like usual. Doug Ford's always fucking been a thorn in Canada's side. I'm really heartbroken that he got back in. Like, anybody else would have been the guy that would have been ideal. Like, I'm not very much so a liberal person, but in terms of the premiers here in Ontario at the time, he was the most liberal choice, including the liberal that was running. He was more liberal than the liberal, even though he wore the conservative title. He was extremely liberal. That's why him and Trudeau got along so well.
That came out of Ontario, and it feels to me like we're kind of now down at the bottom of the list, that Canada is not a priority. As I described it, I think we're in the deep freeze.
Yep.
And so what does that mean about a pathway forward? I continue to have a very positive relationship with the U.S. ambassador. I have a positive relationship with members of the administration. I was pleased to have seen Interior Secretary Doug Burgum when I was recently in the Middle East. And what I think we're seeing now is that industry is just making their own deals. They're not waiting for the politicians to get their act together. You saw with Cameco, for instance, they negotiated a huge deal on nuclear, which is going to benefit Saskatchewan as the 20% of the world's supplier of uranium. You have the the pipeline companies, Enbridge, as well as Trans Mountain and Southbow, all looking at expanding their capacity on their lines. I think in total, it's about 1.2 million barrels a day. Most of that will go to the United States. So I think that's what you're going to see. In those areas that are currently not under dispute, business is just going to continue rolling on. And we've got to probably work at those other issues sector by sector: autos, steel, aluminum, and softwood lumber. And it's disappointing that it's gotten to a point where we can't accelerate the CUSMA negotiations. But at this point, I'm just hoping that we maintain what we've...
Can't accelerate them. We pretty much nuked any negotiations or whatever, like, progress or anything. It was completely fucking nuked. This is tragic. Like, Canada should be able to get improving deals with America before any other country. We've been comrades, we've been fucking brothers in arms, we've been family and friends for fucking generations. And now all this left ideology has torn us apart. And it's so messed up. And we need to get back to being together.
God, I'd like to see, because in Alberta, 97% of goods are crossing tariff-free, and I think that's working
Nice.
well for most of our businesses.
That's
and then we
awesome.
have to work on a sector-by-sector basis
really
to
highly
try to
doubt
get
that
the best deal we
Ontario
can
is
on those
that.
other areas.
And in those other areas, and excuse my potential
really
ignorance, I
doubt it.
suppose here, but in those other areas, is it truly necessary for the federal government to be the one who spearheads all of those talks, or similar with oil, Alberta, what you're doing, with the auto sector as an example? Would that be in say Doug Ford's jurisdiction to be able to negotiate those things, or is that industry different than Alberta's?
Well, I can tell you, we took a lead role in making the case to the Americans about why energy should not be tariffed. I remember that when the first tariffs were being announced and they were talking about it being on energy, we were able to work with our partners in the United States, the American Petroleum Institute, the fuels and petrochemical industry, and others, for them to argue to the administration that if you put high costs on inputs, it's going to end up increasing the price to consumers. And in the case of some of these refineries, that it could be the difference between them opening or closing, and that could create gasoline shortages. So I think we did a very effective job
That
at
would be
advocating
insane.
for our
Could
industry.
you
And as a
imagine?
result, we ended up with
Canada would have actually quite literally gone back to the Stone Ages in those places. Quite literally. Isn't that insane? Alright, well, I'm gonna head off for the night, but this is insane, guys. I gotta wrap up, but I got so much more content I gotta create. There's so many videos that I want to touch on, so many creators I want to go over with you guys. This kind of might be my thing, just, doing a little collage of videos highlighting what's wrong with Canada. Anyways, have a good night, guys.